Good morning, everyone. It's Anne, and I am early. I'm going to hang out here until the top of the hour. This gives everybody an opportunity to find us on the page, get a cup of coffee, a pencil, paper, whatever you need, so that we can get started. And I'll turn my comments on. Hi, Teresa. Welcome. Yeah, so we'll hang out here. It takes a little bit for everyone to get on and figure out where we are and all of that. So I will just hang here. Hi, Henriette. Welcome. So we have a few minutes. I posted the class notes, so if you want to take a moment and print those out, you can do that. Then you can take more notes on top of that if you wanted to. Hope everyone's doing well today. I'm just doing a few last minute things here to get us ready. Now this is part 2. Last week we did our part 1. So today we're going to move on to using the cutter. Let me see. Oh yeah, we've got a little bit more to go. Hope everybody's doing well and enjoying the warmer, we're getting a little bit warmer weather, so that's nice. Okay, let's see where we're at. We still about 2 minutes to go. Let me check the messages and see who's here. We got a few more people on. Marty's here. Sharon, welcome. Susan, Marie. Oh, it's raining in France. That's too bad. I know. Annabella's here. Welcome. Paula. Annika's here. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so we have quite a nice group today. So we'll have a few more coming on as we get closer to the top of the hour. I think this works out well when I come on a little bit early. It gives everyone a chance to find it on the page, and it shows on the page a little longer. Nobody feels rushed or whatever, but it's always saved to the page and then also to the guides, so you can find it in there. Hi, Britt. Welcome. So yeah, so here we're nice sunny day. I think we're gonna get, I don't know, I think we're gonna get maybe, they said something about 70 one of these days, but then we're gonna have a cold spell. Typical of what happens. So yeah. So we'll hang out here as we wait for everyone to come on board. Good morning, Deidre. Welcome. Oh, in Sweden, there's a windy and snow. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I think we're done with snow here on the East Coast. But, you never know. You can get that kind of freaky storm every once in a while. But we're hoping. We're hoping. So we're down to the last half minute before I turn the camera on. Oh yeah, rain and snow are coming for Marty. Yeah, it's gonna happen. I don't think we're gonna get that. I think we're just gonna get like a cold spell. So, but yeah. All right, so I'm almost ready to start the camera. And then we will get on our way today. Well, good morning, everyone. Let me get this this way. There we go. You don't have to look at my ceiling. Who wants to see that? So welcome. Today I have some really fun things. My name, in case you don't know, I think most of the people on here today, I have my iPad down here, that are on today are regulars. But if you're new, I'm Ann Hein. I'm an educator for Janome America, and typically before the pandemic, I would be traveling, and you might see me like this weekend, there's a show in Atlanta. Sometimes I might be at a show, working in the classroom or the booth, things like that. So it's starting up again. So some assignments will be coming up for travel. So that'll be kind of fun to get out and about at some point. Today is part 2 of our series. We started last week with our series on creating a crystal overlay. And then this week we're going to work with the cutter and how we cut that, some testing that we can do. Also, I made a little bonus project and I did a little glass etching. And I really like to glass etch, and I'm going to show you how to create your glass etch. And I've showed these before, but it's hard to show them on the screen. So I'll hold up the one I just created. It's on a mirror, so I don't know how well it'll show. But let's see if I can get this to show without us. Can you see? Oh, it's kind of hard. Oh, there we go. If I turn it this way. Can you see that little guy? He's on the mirror. I etched him onto a mirror. He's that little chameleon I've been using. And of course you can see my screen and everything else because I'm on a mirror. But let me hold him up again. It's hard to find the spot. I'll show him again in another angle so you'll be able to see him. But there you go. So yeah, I'm gonna show you how to do that. It's very easy, and I have my etched glasses back here too. So these are my wine glasses. It's hard to see the etching on them in the light. So you'll have to take my word for it. But it's really fun. It's not that hard, and it makes some great great gifts like this mirror. I think I got those at IKEA a while ago. You can etch around. You can etch like a big initial on there and a name and frame it and give it to someone as a gift. I mean, that's really, so there's a lot of nice things that you can do with it. So let me double check here to see where we're at as far as comments and where everybody's at. Oh, good, we're here. Good morning, Sandy. And Adeline is here. Lynn and Cindy, welcome, welcome. All right, so back up to here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the cutter, and I'm going to show you how to cut the crystals, and then I'm going to come back to the software, and I'm going to show you how to create the stencil for glass etching. Also, when I go to the cutter, we're going to do I'm going to switch back and forth with the camera. Some you'll see the cutter, and then I want you to see the screen of the machine on the software of how you work with the cutter. Now, if you have a competitor cutter, that's fine. When you make your design, you would use the file export to SVG, save it to an SVG, and then you would bring it over to your cutter. Now, in our files, there is a document one of our members made. If you have the Cricut Maker, there's I think it's called Artistic Meets the Maker. And it tells you in there how to adjust the size, because there's a problem with the size coming from AD going over to the Maker. So there's a way, somebody put a little tutorial in there. So you can look for that. That's in the files. So write that on your note sheet. I didn't put it on the notes. I should have, that we have a file for that. So you can go ahead and take care of that. And then before we really start, Janome has 2 products out for working with your digital cutter. And one of them is a digital tool set. And then the other one is called the Art Craft Kit. And it has those same tools in it plus more, and then some other things to work with your cutter. So I'm going to show those first so you can see that, and I'll explain the pieces as we go. And those are available. Now, this is a U.S. product, so I don't think it's worldwide. It's a USA thing. I don't even know if Canada has it, so you'd have to check there. But it's an American product because we're Janome America on this side. So the other thing is there's been a lot of talk about discontinuing cutters. We are not discontinuing cutters. Canada is no longer going to carry the cutters. So they're selling out their stock. I don't think they have any 15s left, as the United States doesn't have any 15s, I don't think either. And they're selling out their stock of 12s and then whatever product they have. So in the States, we are going to continue on with the cutters and the products. So you'll be able to get products from your dealers and cutters from Janome dealers there. So if you're looking for a cutter, you want to go check with your dealer. They can order the cutter for you and any of the supplies. So I'm going to turn my camera onto my work surface here, and then I'll show you the tools and the things that come in the Art Craft kit. It's really nice. It's a good starter. It's a good starter kit. So let me do that. I will put this on here. There we go. And there's our beautiful cutter. All right, so I'm going to check. And just to let you know, if you are new, what I'm doing is I will check my for comments every so often, and then if I miss your question, you can post it again here. Sometimes other people answer for you, and then I'll go back later on today and I answer any questions that way. Now there's a question from Karen about thanks for doing the classes. Oh, you're very welcome. And do we have any idea when the anniversary new sewing machines will be in the US? I don't know. I know I saw some pictures of some anniversary machines. They're very pretty. So I would double check with your dealer to see when they come in. I'm not really sure when those are coming, but I do know they are coming, and they're very nice. So check in with your dealer. Check the Janome website. They'll be posting pictures there. I know in different parts of the world, there are different anniversary machines. This is our 100th anniversary with Janome. So different countries do different things. I know they had a special one in Japan. So I saw a clip of that on Instagram, and they're making these cute little bags with it. We, in the States, we have the printed fabric, the 100th anniversary fabric, and then we'll have some machines coming out too. So let me show you. This is the digital tool kit. And before I do that, I have to turn so I can see what we're doing here. There we go. I'll make sure I can keep it in the front here. All right, so this is the digital tool kit, and what comes in that kit, one of my favorite tools, this is called the Pick and Release, this one here. And it has a little, looks like a Q-tip end. I'll bring it close. Ooh, this way. So it has a little Q-tip end on it, and it's sort of sticky, and then you can wash it again, and it helps pick up your crystals. So I'll show you using that. So that's in there. You get a nice little pair of these snips. These are handy to have. Tweezers, which are great if you're working with crystals or even picking things off your mat. That works good. You're getting the scraper, and this is great if you do paper. Sometimes after you cut, you have a debris on your mat, and this is a nice scraper to take that off with. And then, of course, the hook. This is great, and let's see if I turn it this way, if you can see. There is a little hook on the end. It's hard to show that. There it is. So the hook is great for picking crystals out or starting something after you cut it. And I'll be using this to show you how that works. So those are the tools that come in. Oh, and the squeegee comes in there too. This is the squeegee. This is great for getting stuff smooth on the mat when you need it. It can scrape a little bit up off the mat too if you want. But this is the squeegee. The squeegee. All right. The Art Craft kit is bigger, and it comes in this beautiful container, one of these containers here. And I'll show you everything that comes in it. It's a great starter set for when you're going to start working with your cutter. They give you some products to start with. There are different colors of vinyl in here, and here we go. So you have some vinyl, and that beeping is just my press turning off. Let me move these out of the way. There we go. So you get some vinyl. They also give you a little bit of starter stuff for working with crystals. So they give you, this is the green material I was talking about. This is the green rubber for templates. This is your transfer paper, and then your backer board is here. I have the flocked that I've been using, but this works just as well. So they have that in there. And then you also have this here. I love this spray. This is Artistic Tack. And Artistic Tack is great because it's sort of like Silly String. It sprays directional and it doesn't overspray. So I really like that. And they also give you, that's great for adhering things in the hoop of your embroidery machine, or if your mat isn't sticky enough, you can put a little bit on your mat. And this is the Artistic adhesive remover. It's a cleaner. If you have it on your hoops and you want to clean your hoops up, you can use this. So that's a great product too. And then we have the tools. And you've seen me use this before. This is the little sponge brush for brushing your crystals in. So that's in there. Of course, the snips are here, just like we had in the other kit. The hook is in here too, so you have that. There's your pick and release. You have that too. The scraper is in there. And the tweezers. So you have all those same tools that come in the little kit, and a few more. There's your scraper, or the squeegee, sorry, it's called a squeegee. And then you also have a X-Acto knife, which is handy to have. So this is a really nice one. It's got a little thin blade on there too, and that's a nice one. Then they give you some crystals and some other studs to work with that are hot fix. So for your crystals, you have a selection of crystal colors here. Let's see, where's the other one? Here we go. So you have 5 bags of crystals, and then these are little studs. They're sort of raised up, and there are 5 bags of those to play with too. So you have a nice grouping of things that all come in the box. So I think it's a really nice kit that they put together. It gives you all your tools at once, so you don't have to go out and get all the different tools. You just get them all at once. I don't have pricing. If you're asking pricing, that you would have to ask your dealer about. They would have all the pricing there. So I would double check with them. And then I'm going to put all of this away. So this is nice. It gives you a starter of this so you can practice a little bit. Some vinyls to cut, which are handy to have. And then, as you go along, there's always more, different vinyls. And talking about vinyl, next week I'm going to start another series with the cutter. So we're going to do a 2-parter again. So on Thursday we will do... we're going to do the creating a vinyl design. So we're going to work with both the sticky back and the iron-on vinyl. So we'll be working with both of those. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to double check over here to see if there's any comments. If my comments would come up. Let's see here. Come on. Oh, there we go. All right, so I think we're good. Well, you can also, if you live far from your dealer, you can see if they'll if they'll ship it to you, because sometimes a lot of our dealers will do shipping. So that's really, really helpful too. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to turn the cutter on and talk a little bit about the cutter itself, and then I'll go back and forth between the machine. So this turns it on here. This is the 12-inch I'm using, and it has a nice light, and when you lift that up, that's what it looks like inside there. And let me see. On the over here on that side, those are the controls, but those controls over there, these controls over here, you can use those to bring your mat in and out. But you really want to use the ones that are on the controls of the software. So I'll show you that when we go to the software. And then you would have a mat like this. This is the let me get stuff off of here. Now I have a mat. I have a hybrid. I was sent I have a 12-inch, but they sent me 15-inch mats. So I had to cut my mat over here, and I just put tape on it. So that's fine. But this is the high tack. There's two, a low tack and a high tack. And do you see right here, I have some things, some debris on there. I can use my little scraper to get that off. And it's good to take that off because when you go to cut, you know, your blade is going to hit that. So you can just use your scraper like this and remove those. These little dots, I get them everywhere. Sometimes I wear them on my face, on my clothing. They just get everywhere. There we go. Get that off there. Okay. So your mat, when you put your stuff on your mat, then it would slip in here. There's little levers here that when they're down, you can slide this in, and then to lock it in, you would push them up. And there's one on the far side too, over there. So this is your blade. This is your blade housing right in here, the blade holder, and then the this part here. So I'm going to bring this closer so you can see. This is, and you might be able to see the numbers on the top there. It's kind of hard. If I can get my, I don't know if my camera will focus this close, but right along the top here, there are numbers, and they start, let me go on this side. They start at 2, which it's hard to see that, and I can't make it focus. Yeah, because I'm holding it. So there's 2 all the way up to 12. So you would, based on what you're cutting, it would tell you what blade to put in and what number to set this at, and you would turn the top part here to another number. And what that does is a higher number will make the blade, which is sticking out right here, which is hard to see also, what makes the blade stick out more. And these blades are held in with a little bit of a magnet. This top part here, when you push it down, your blade comes out, and then you can pull the blade out. And I have some junk on there from when I was cutting yesterday. And then to put them in, you just stick it in there, and it holds itself right in there. So they're very easy to take in and out. There's 3 types of blades. We have a red blade, a blue blade, and a yellow blade. And in the software, when you choose your material that you're cutting, it will tell you what blade to put in. It tells you what number to set it at, and you would align it right where the triangle is right here. So if it called for something like a 4, it's only sticking out a tiny little bit. I would take it just like this, stick it in here, and tighten it down. Now I believe I have I think I'm gonna have my blue blade in, because I think I cut not sure what I cut yesterday last. I have to see. I have a little system because, you know, I start cutting and then I forget, and then I go away and I come back. So I put my 3 blades in these little, and these are the containers the blades come in. So I actually had 3 of them. So I have a yellow, red, and a blue. And when I when I take a blade out, they have these little lids on them with their color, like this. So I have a blue blade in there. So they come like this, and that's covering the blade itself. And what I do is when I take a blade out of the housing, put the cover back on it, put it in its container, then I get out the next blade that I need, and I get that inserted. Because once you take the covers off, they all look the same. So you want to make sure you have a nice little system there. So I had extra of these containers, so I decided I would just put them a little color on the top, and then I know what's in here, and all of these have their lids on them, so except for the blue. So I had a blue one that I cut last. All right, so the thing we're going to cut first is I'm going to show you how to cut your template material for crystals. And I'm going to first adhere my piece to it. And I'm going to check here, make sure that if we have any questions. I think calibrating the blades are in, it's the housing that you're calibrating. So you can, I think it's in the manual of how to calibrate your blades. And so you'd have to follow those directions. All right, so this is the flocked material for making a crystal template. And a crystal template looks like this after you cut it. Here's my little one with the wings. And then we're going to sweep some crystals in there and pull them out with the transfer tape, which looks like this, which you can't really see. And then with the transfer tape, I'm going to lay it here and I'm going to heat set that on my bee. Okay, do you see how that is? We're going to cut a smaller design because I already have that one done, but I'm going to show you how to sweep the crystals in and how that all works. So you take your template material. Now I've been using this one, so I have some openings in it. And I'm just going to set it down here on the mat. I can set my cutter housing anywhere in this area that I want to cut. So it doesn't matter on my screen when I'm designing. It doesn't matter where it is on my screen. It's when I go to the cutter window, what I decide I want to do with where I want the blade to start. So let me show you that first. This is the most confusing part. And let me get my little bee cheat sheet. And this will make sense when we go. I'm going to switch back and forth to the software. So this here, all right, so memorize these little spots. These are the spots you can set your blade housing at. And I normally set here. So I'm going to use this as my pretend piece. When I put this in the cutter, I'm going to bring my blade housing right here. I have to make sure I have enough room this way and down here to cut my piece. So if it says on the screen my thing is 5 by 8, I know I don't have enough space down here. So I'd have to get it different. I'd have to put it in a different spot. So this is where it starts, and you need to make sure from whatever dot that is that you have enough room in the other direction. So if I'm over here, I got to make sure I have room this way to cut and down. If I start, some people like to start here, and then they know when they're here, they can visually see that it's going to cut there. There is a trace feature, so you can trace it, so you know you have enough there and you don't get surprised. Okay, but let me show you in the software what this means and how that, and then I'll show you a little bit how that works. So you want to get hot fix crystals. The crystal was unstick. You want to use hot fix crystals because you're going to pull them out and then you're going to iron them in place. So they have a bit of glue on the other side. And you can use a press or an iron on that. All right, so let's go to the software. And I'm going to create a little design. So I'm going to just go to create new. And I am going to go to my tools, insert clip art library, insert clip art. And I'm going to look for this little curly Q. I think it's down here. I don't know if it's called curly Q, or I'd look it up. Let's see. Where are we? Borders. Normally I write these down, but today for some reason I did not write down the number. So once we get to it, let's see if it's called curl. Here it is, curl 2. All right, so I'm going to select that. I'm going to select insert, and then I'm going to click and drag here. Now, when I do that, I am still in embroidery. Okay, so I don't have in my properties, I do not have, when I go to outline, I do not have the crystal icon. I don't have a crystal icon over here in my tools on the left-hand side. And I don't necessarily have to have the cutter mat there either. And I'm going to show you both ways. What you do need to do is up here under techniques, you need to turn on your crystal here. If you're going to cut crystals, or if you're just going to cut an outline, you need to select cut, or if you're going to do a stencil, you would go on stencil. Embroidery is always selected, so it's the default, so you don't have to worry about that. So I've selected that, and I'm going to say okay. And then you'll see under fill, I have crystal fill, and under outline, I have crystals I can put on an outline. So I'm actually going to fill this with crystals. And all I need to do, I have it selected, I'm just going to click on my crystal fill, and there they are. And I'm going to scroll in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Now, we went over a lot of this last week about the crystals over here and the sizing. And I'm going to pick the 10s because I have 10s out, I think, today. And then you can change your color of your crystals. All of that's there. But what I want to show, and I'm going to move this over because I don't think we're seeing the whole thing. What I want to show is the fit. Right now it's in shape fit, and I'm going to put it in line fit, and see what happens when I do that. So now it's put them in sort of 2 lines within there. Maybe I want to try single line. There we go. So now I have a single line of crystals in my design. And that's the one I'm going to cut. And I'm going to show you how I cut that. In this design, you can see at the bottom, it's a little over 3 inches wide by 2.5 inches high. I'm just going to make it a little skinnier this way. There we go. And it will adjust the crystals for me. So if I went really big, it would fill in the crystals just like it does when you're working with stitches. Okay, so now it's 3 inches wide by 2 something high. Let's go down a little bit more. There we go. It's 2 by 1. That'll be big enough for us. All right, so that's what it looks like. You know, I'm on the screen with my on the embroidery side. It looks just like that, and I could take it to the cutter right from there. And I'm just picking up my iPads in case there's questions as I'm going along here. So before I send it to the cutter, oh, we got lots of questions. All right, I'll come back. So before I send it to the cutter, I do want to go over here and select my cutter presets. So this opens up and it has all the different mediums that you might be cutting. And I'm going to be cutting the Crystal Template Material Flocked. And it's a blue blade and it wants it at 6. All right, so I'm selecting that. And then it'll put all those settings right here for me. And it sets everything up. And I'm ready to go. And I would just come over here and go to File, Export to Cutters. And then Edges selected. And I'm going to do Connect. Okay, so now what happens is when I've been on a long time, which I have sometimes I have to go back out and try to connect again. I've had my computer on a long time this morning and I connected. All right, let's try one more time. Let's close this. All right, we'll close from up here. Typically when I'm teaching, it's always dicey of when there we go. I heard it connect. Okay, so now I'm connected. And on the left side of this window, I'm going to cover what's in this window, and then I'm going to answer some questions. On the left side will be the things that you're going to cut. I only have one color crystals, so there's only one line. But if I had different colors, and I'll show you one with different colors and how that works. And then over here are my crystals. But see these little plus signs? Those are those little stickers I was showing you about. So if I chose this one in the top left corner, I want to make sure my cutter's going to start there, that I have enough room this way to the right and enough room down this way. If I chose this far corner, I want to make sure when I bring my housing down here that I have enough room going this way and I have enough room going that way. Does that make sense? I'm going to hold here for just a moment, look at some questions, and see what I can answer. All right, so let's see. There was one here. Yes, you can use the cutter to cut fabric, and I've done that in the past. I like to use either Terreal Magic to stiffen it or some starch. And, oh, good. So that's how, and I'll be working more with the cutter, and we will move back to fabric at some point. Candy tells us that Canada has a number of the kits, so you can check with them. Let's see here. It does, yeah. Unfortunately, this cutter does not, it's not worldwide. So some of the other countries don't have it. It's a sort of a North America thing. Calibrating braids, we talked about that a little bit. You have to look in your manual. Okay. Oh, see yeah, sometimes you can go like through Amazon or something to get them if you live outside the country, but then there's a lot of shipping involved with that. So I got my flocked material from Janome, and you can ask your dealer if they carry the flocked. There's also a blue one. It's the same thing, blue or black. And I talked about crystals. I see that. Yeah, import duties when you order there. Let's see. Are you able to get other cutters? Well, you can use the software with other cutters. I did mention that. Let me back out of the screen here. When you go to, say this is your crystal design and you're going to go to another cutter. Up here you're going to go to File, Export, and you're going to export it as an SVG. And then save it to a USB stick or however you transfer to your cutter, and then you would take it to your cutter that way. Okay, that's how you would work with other cutters. We have the direct hookup here, and we have several other cutters that direct hook up. So let me show you again what those look like. So we have these cutters here that you can also use. I've used the Zing. That was one of the first ones I used. So it's very similar to the Artistic Edge. Some of these cutters come with their own software, but if you're designing in Artistic with like the Zing, you don't need that software because you can take it right from our software to that cutter. Right here, if you have a scan and cut, you don't have to you can go to Export Cutters and use this. I think your brother format is FCM, so you would have that here. So you still have your SVGs here too. You can go Export Cutters and find your file formats down here too. Okay. All right, let's see here. Yeah, you need the heat set crystals to do that. All right, now, and your dealers, if I mentioned Terial Magic like material, Terial, it stiffens your fabric. And what I like to do is spray it in a bag, plastic bag with my fabric and scrunch it all in so the fabric is saturated. And then I take it out and I let it damp dry. And when it's damp dry, I press it and it becomes stiff as paper. It's very stiff. I've even embroidered on it without stabilizer when it was that stiff in the little FA hoop. So it really makes a nice crisp cut when you're doing it. You can also use a fusible on your fabric and cut with a fusible. That also works good too. And you can just put fabric on there and cut that. Now, not all fabric is created equal. Some fabrics are thinner and they have a lot of wobbly threads. So sometimes that will give you some issues there. And you can cut felt, you can cut thin cork, stencil material, cardstock, vinyls, different things like that. So there's a lot of things that you can cut with the cutter. And then there's other tools you can use to like a pen and things like that to draw on your paper or your fabric. You can do that. So let me back out of here and show you up here. I'm gonna change to the cutter view so you can see what it looks like when it's on a mat. So Janome has their cutter in here. So you go to the bottom of the list and then you can pick the 12 or the 15. There's a drop down here. So I'm just doing the 12. And then see, now it's on the mat. It doesn't matter where I have it on the mat because when I go to File, Export, it's going to give me this window, and this is my placement window for my material that's on my mat. The mat view is really just for designing, and it's helpful that if you're using a 12-inch mat or even your hoop, that's why I suggest even when you're embroidering a design and you're making designs to use your hoop so that you don't make something outside the bounds of your hoop or your mat that's going to be too long. We do make longer mats, so you can cut a long design. If it's too long or too wide, you'd have to break it into sections, which isn't that hard to do on that part. Let's see. Unfortunately, I don't have the Simple Cut software, so I can't demo that. Once it comes into the cutter window, it's the same. Let me see here. How do you import and open commercial SVGs in Simple Cut? Well, just like you would open anything else, I think you can open SVGs in there. You have that little window in the beginning where it says browse for your folders or whatever. You have to go through your import window. And once you use your import window, you can open anything. You can go to, open file and go find your files that way. So there's not a, it's a little different. It looks a little different than this software, but it reacts the same way. They give you a window where you can go to look for your image, and then you can, your file or whatever, and then you navigate through your computer to find that. Can you change a neckline on t-shirt with a cutter? Well, I've never done that. I suppose you could, draw a neckline here, lay your, it'd be really hard though, because your t-shirt's going to be wider than this mat. And when you roll it into your cutter, the sides of your shirt might not go into the cutter. So you really couldn't change the neckline of your t-shirt. You could create a template in your software, print a template, lay it on your shirt, and trim it yourself. You could do that kind of thing. And you can create neckline designs in the software itself. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this design to the cutter. And let me make sure my presets are set. I'm going to be cutting the template material and a blade depth of 6. And I'm going to come down here. Let's see. Everything looks good. I'm going to go to File, Export to Cutter, and connect. Hang on one second as we go back out. There we go. When you connect, it makes that little noise. Hopefully, oh, my screen is blurry. It could be your browser. Sometimes if you're on Safari, it can be a little bit blurry. But from this end, everything is, I can't adjust the screen from here. Everything is set. So as I said, I like to pick that upper left corner, and I'm going to load my mat and show you how all this works. I'm going to go back and forth between this screen on the computer and the camera screen at the cutter, because these buttons right here are what you use to bring your mat in and out and your blade housing left and right. And then over here you have your trace feature, you have a test cut, which we're going to do, and then the cut button. So I'm going to show you why you want to do a test cut. All right. And it tells you right here, please insert the blue blade with a depth of 6 into your cutter. And I'm going to adjust mine because it's at a 4 right now. And it gives me my speed and some cutter options. And when you go into the test, you'll see you can change the pressure in there too. Sometimes it's better to increase your pressure rather than increase your blade depth, because your blade depth will just push through, and you can cut your mat. I just, I've sliced into my mat a little bit too, and it's not that big of a deal. All right, let's see. Oh, it just cleared. Good, good, good. All right, so what I'm going to do is put the camera on my table so you can see what's happening there as I get set up for cutting. All right, hopefully I won't trip over anything. in my new setup here. All right. So I did this earlier. I put my material onto my mat. I'm going to make sure it's stuck on there really, really nice and good. I don't want it gapping or anything like that. I have to change my blade to a 6, so I can leave it in here. I already have the blue blade in. I figured that out already. I can move this up to a 6. All right, so I'm going to put it right on 6. And we have a laser alignment, and I'm going to see if we can, I don't know if you can see it. It's very hard. I tried practicing zooming in for everyone, and it really doesn't, it doesn't help. But there's a little laser dot like right here where my finger is. That's what you want to line up at the one of those dots at one of these positions when you're going to cut. All right, not the blade housing itself. You want to line up with the laser light right there, the little laser dot. So I'm going to stick this in like this. There we go. I want to make sure it's sliding good. And then you can put it anywhere just like that. Flip these up. Excuse me, I'm going to reach in front, flip that one up. So now it's secure in there. It's not going to come out. And now I need to go to my computer to move this housing back and forth and set it where I want it to be. Okay, so we're going to go to the setting. We're going to go back to the software so you can see me do that. So look where did you look where the housing is now? You're going to hear it moving at this point, and I can't, I probably could. All right, let's do this. I'm going to leave it on the camera, and I'm going to do the controls here so you can see the mat move. See how it's coming out? I'm going to push it back in. The housing's going to move across. Okay, and I'm going to try to put it in this top left corner. Oops, this way. And I have to peek around to see if where the laser light is, because I can't see it from, normally I'm in a different position when I'm working. So I can see where it is. Okay, so I can see it's right about here. I'm going to try to bring it closer to the edge so I'm not wasting some of my template material. And that's the great thing. If I wanted to cut something down here, I would just roll this in and move my housing around till I get to this spot down here. So you can cut in any spot on your mat at any time. I don't have to cut up this piece. I can leave it whole and just cut pieces out of it. So let me bring it there and go. All right, I think I'm pretty close. Now I'm going to do the test cut. I think I might be off. Let me see, where is it? Nope, there it is. I can see it's right here. So we're pretty close to the corner. That's where we want to be. Now, when you go to cut, and let's go back to the cutter window so you can see that now we're aligned where I want to be. And I'm going to go back to the software. So when you're in this position, these were the controls I was using. I've chosen this one up here, so I'm all set for that. But I can also choose to put a frame around it. And that's important with certain things that you're doing so that you can pull them out off of your template material. Okay, so let me show you an example of that. So on this piece here, see how I can see the white? I've pulled these off, even around this one. I pulled the black piece off all the way around to make this, and this isn't the stencil, this is what's left afterwards. All right, so I'm gonna do the cutting of the first one. I'm gonna leave it in this view. I'm selecting the test button, and let me show you that window really quick. So when I touch the test, it opens this window here, and I can change my depth here, but I still turn my, I'll change it here, but I also change it on the physical blade housing itself. I could change the knife color. I could pick a different material if I wanted to. Once I make any change, I would select apply before I did my test. So I didn't make any changes. A lot of times I'll change the pressure rather than the depth. But let's do this test because this is important. So here we go. I'm going to put you guys back on the screen here so you can see what happens. So it's going to cut 9 9 or something like that. There it goes. It's making its circle around. And when it gets done, it gives you this window right here. So send complete, okay. So I can select okay. And I can close this window. I'm going to leave it open though because I'm still I'm going to make a change. I'm going to go over here so I can show you what that did. Let me open this up here. And this is why you want to do a test. So I'm going to pull this out. I need to get my little tool here. All right. So this is where it cut. It's very hard to see where it is. And I usually bend it back a little bit like this to find the edge right here. All right. And I'm going to pick up the template material right here. All right. So here's where it cut my little piece. I must have a little cut up there too. So when it cut, as you can see, it cut all the way through. And that's not what I want. I would have to pick all these little dots out of here now. And that's not what I want. I want to leave the white, and when I lift this off, I want my dots left there. So that's what I have here. Do you see on this one? All right, so on this one, I set the blade just perfect. And it took me 4 times to get it right where I wanted it. So I changed the blade here. I took my blade, because it's cutting all the way through, I took my blade down probably to a 5. I ended up over here at a 4 for me. And it cut it out and it left the little dots on there so I could pull out and make my stencil. Does that make sense? Let me check for questions. Let's see here. My comments sometimes go away and then they come back. All right, so okay. All right, so Candy's mentioning this too. I saw this online too. Canada offers classes with the Simple Cut software and on the cutter, and they do it through their dealers. It's a virtual class, but it's through their dealers, and Erin is the instructor. She has a 1, 2, and 3 class that she wants you to do before you take the next series. And they're running the 1, 2, and 3 classes at this point. So if you go to the Janome Life blog, you'll see the thing about the classes. Then you have to find a Canadian dealer that is offering the classes, and you would register through them for the class. And anyone can take it. You just have to be ready when they show the class. You have to sign in when they do the class, and they do it through GoToMeeting is how they do their classes, so that you get to see, the instructor sees you and you see the instructor. Okay. And if you want to, I would definitely recommend taking one of those classes. The software is slightly different than Artistic Digitizer. That was our first software. So Artistic Digitizer's changed a little bit, but it's very, very, very similar. So if you have either software, you should be able to figure it out. And if you want to take any of those classes. So since I went ahead earlier and I did all this testing, I am going to set my knife at 4, and I'm going to cut that little curlicue at this point. So I'm going to go over here to my knife, and I'm going to move this back to 4. And I'm going to change it on the screen here. So I'm going to go back to my window, and I'm going to put it at 4. And I'm going to apply that, and I'm going to close this. All right, so I'm going to let you see what that looks like on the screen now. So I changed the blade, and it says right down here now, depth of 4, speed of 50, and pressure of 70. I think that's good on the pressure. We'll see how it works. Now, I don't mind if it doesn't release all the little dots, that's okay. But sometimes, if you have a big design, it's nice to have all those dots stay on the material rather than on the backer material, rather than having to pick them all out. All right, so I'm going to use my tools here to set my blade. So I'm going to move you guys back so you can see that. All right, and let me come around the other side. Let's see, I can see there's my dots like right there. I might bring it back just a little bit so I'm a little closer to that. But you can get really close to your pieces so that you reduce the waste. All right, so there it is. Make sure this is in tight. That is. And I'm going to go ahead and say cut. And hopefully everything will work good. All right, so send was complete. It's doing its thing. All right, so it's going to do its little thing. The last thing it'll do is the outline. And it's kind of going across. And do you remember my curly Q kind of came up and around? So it's doing, one on the left, one in the middle, and one on the right. There's the last part of it. And it's done. So I'm going to take this out. Sometimes what I do is when I have it out, I will use one of these. This is a brayer. And I will just give it a little bit of a push like this so that it'll keep the stick. I want those little dots to stick as I pull up the template itself. So I have, oh, there it is. So let me get this in front of the camera. So right here, oh, I can see it right here. Right here is where my template will start. Let's see if I can, it's hard to hold it up and do this, but let's see if I can get it in front of the camera. Here we go. There we go. All right, so there we are. And I'm going to hold it back here and ooh, it's doing good. So here we go. Look at that. That's exactly what I want. I have a couple right here that are stuck in here. All right. So I just use my little tool and I could push these out like that. And then on the back side, I want to make sure they're not sticking back here because that won't be good when you do your thing. So there we go. And that's what you want when you're cutting a material like this, when you're cutting the iron-on vinyl, even the sticky back vinyl, you want to try not to cut through that backer. All right, so it leaves your piece in there. All right, so let's move to what I do with the piece now. It's like this. So now I need to put it on a backer board, and I'll get my backer board. Okay, so here's my backer board. I'm going to stick it right up in the corner on there. And then I'm going to trim it off of there. You can also, if you want to save on backer board, I have a lot of that when I was traveling and doing shows for this. I would put templates on the back side too. So you'd have one on this side and one on this side. So you can save your how much backer board you use. So now I'm going to move this aside. I'm going to put that there. I'm going to bring over my tray to hold my crystals. And I'm also going to, I don't always remember to do this first. This is your transfer tape. It comes, you can get it in sheets or rolls. I have a sheet of it and it peels off. It has a sticky part. But before I begin, I want to cut one that fits the size of this. And it's much easier to do this before there's crystals in there. And I'm like a surgeon with this, isn't it? I'm so exact. Here we go. All right, let's get that out of the way. All right, so I'm going to set this to the side. Hopefully I'll be able to find it. And I'm going to lay this in here. Now these are my size 10 crystals, so I'm going to grab some 10s. And I don't know if you can see, they're some are gray and some are the shiny. So the gray part is the glue side. So I'm just going to take some of these and sprinkle them on there like that. This is a dollar store tray. It's fabulous. And then I need my little brush. So now I have my brush and I have my tray. And let me see, I can try to zoom in, but I'm not sure it'll zoom to the right spot. Let's see if I can. Nope, I can't make it zoom. Oh, there we go. And I'll adjust where this is. We're a little closer. Okay. So now you take your brush and you hold the corner of your piece so it's flat, and you just push on here, swishing them back and forth like this, and they fall in those little holes for the most part. And let me bring this up close so you can see. I don't want to lift it up just yet, so I'm going to bring it closer. So you can see, it's hard to see. Let me bring those crystals so they fall to the bottom. It's hard to see, but there's a couple spots where there's no crystals, right? So to fix that, I get to use the other tool I like, is the pick and release. So let me get the pick and release. Ooh, you can see a little bit. It's a little blurry when I bring it close to the camera. It's hard to get the camera to adjust sometimes. So I'm going to do this up here. So I need a crystal here, and there's two up there. So with the pick and release, I can pick up a crystal that on its shiny side, and it'll stick to my pick and release, so it's on the end, and I can stick it back in there. There we go. And then I can find another one and put it in there. If I had one that was in the wrong spot, I could pick it up and move it and get it out of there, because sometimes you put them in and they go in all the wrong places. There we go. Now see, that one went upside down. We'll throw it back. Here we go. So now I filled in all my little spots. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my transfer tape, and I'm going to make sure these extra crystals are out of the way. And I'm going to take the transfer tape. Here it is. I'm going to peel off the back. Now I save the back of this because when you're making crystals, you don't always go and adhere them somewhere. Sometimes maybe you're going to give them to somebody, or you're going to use them later on. And so I'm just going to lay the transfer tape on top, and I'm going to rub on top of those crystals like this. And you can already see they're coming out. And then when I go to lift it, they come out. So now all this side, this is the hot fix side. That's the pretty side. So when I go to press this, and this is heat resistant, I can lay this down on my piece, and I'm going to start my press. I don't know if we'll be able to press yet. So here's our B, and I did that with the B. I'm going to put that in here, and then I can just press this down. Now you can heat set right on top of this. You don't have to. I like to use a press cloth, but you don't have to. But I don't know. I always like to just by chance. So I'm going to go ahead and I don't know if my press it's not up yet. So I'm going to wait for that to come up, and we'll press that down. You can use an iron, or you can use the Elna press. Let me see if I can zoom back out. There we go, a little bit more. Are we all the way out? Okay. And then my Elna press is over here. There's the Elna press. I'm waiting for it to heat. So I don't think it's not up. Whoops, it's not up to temperature yet. So yeah, so I have to wait till it's up to temperature. I use a cotton setting, the high setting, and I'm going to bring you around to this side. So we're going to talk a little bit more about stuff over here. All right, let me check to see what we have for up over here. Yeah, right. You only want to use those buttons that are on the cutter when you first load. I just actually use everything on the screen of the machine because it just works. It works better. There we go. I'm trying to get my screen to come down. All right, so I want to show you something while my press is heating up. This is the one I did for my bees. I did a beehive, and it's hard to see that in there, but my beehive is two different colors. I have this darker color up here and around the little door, and then the hive itself is a yellow color. And I did it all in one template, but what I did is I put the light yellow color everywhere, and then I just removed it from these holes and used my pick and release to put the other ones in. So you can do it that way. You can make two templates, and like this, and this would be in a template, and then I would put the crystals in there. I would have a template that's just this part here. Take that first transfer tape, lay it over that, and align it that way when you're doing a layer. Okay, so, or you can put them in one. If you have a few of them, you can just put them in by hand. If you have a large design, you might want separate templates for each part. Okay, so that shows that part. Now, let me see if it's heating over here. Oh, we are getting hot. Let's see. Here we go. I'm not going to turn the camera while I press this because I don't think you need to see that. But I'm going to press it, and then I'll bring it over to show you in front of the camera. And then we're going to do our bonus project. I'm going to show you the bonus project. All right, with the press, what I like about the press is when you use the press, when you push it down, you can lock it down, and that amount of pressure helps with getting those crystals to adhere. And I'm going to do a little test to see. I've got to go one more time. We might not be as hot. Also, when you're using your iron, you can definitely use an iron. Sometimes an iron has those little holes for steam, and when you're pressing your crystals, they don't get a full pressure of the iron itself. So you may just have to move your iron around a little bit. And you don't want to slide your iron. You want to lift your iron up and put it down. Lift it up and put it down. When you slide it, as soon as that glue gets melted, the crystals will slide. And then you'll have some little yuckies there around your crystals. Okay, so this is ready to go. All right, so I'm going to bring it in front of the camera so you can see. So I pressed it on there, and I'm just going to lift this up. And when I tested, I just lifted the corner to see if any were coming off onto the transfer tape, and they're all on there now. So they're a little warm, but they're all ready to go. And I could brush in another one and put crystals over on this side. Maybe I should hold them upright. There we go. There he goes. Okay. Now, let me see how we are on questions or comments. Oh, where do I use? Well, what I was going to do with my beehive is I'm going to adhere my beehive. It's going to be hard to see. And then I'm going to put the bee flying next to it like this. So they're going to be together. I'm actually going to stitch this bee on something else and then put the hive with it. I think I'm going to use a denim. I have a denim jacket. I'm going to put it on and just have the bee and the hive together. When you use denim or some of the thicker fabrics, sometimes I will heat the fabric first. So I'll do a quick press there. Then I'll put my crystal template down and my press cloth, and then I'll go ahead and press. Heating up that fabric sometimes is helpful for getting those crystals to melt, because you're going through the glass of the crystal into the glue. You can flip it over. You can press from the other side too. I do like to press from the top so I can see what I'm doing on there. All right, so let me show you glass etching. This I think is really fun, and hopefully I won't spill anything as I have open crystals. And whew, I am probably the klutzy educator, but here we go. So I'm going to bring this back under here and see if we can see. There we go. Can you see my little etched guy in the corner there? All right. So what I used was the Armor etching cream, and I made a template. So this is my sticky template. right here. All right, and I'm going to stick it on the glass in just a minute so you can see it. I used two things. I'm going to show you what I use to make this. You can do this on glasses. You can do it on plates. You can do it, on any flat surface that you can work with. This is what I use. This is shelf liner. It's sticky back shelf liner. All right, and it comes on a carrier, which is fine. And what I would do is stick this down on my mat, and I would do a little test cut, and it would cut a little, I think it cuts a little heart, and you can peel it off, and then I let it cut my piece. And I'm going to put this one down. I'm going to show you how I created him in the software. I'm going to put him over here. This is my test piece of mirror, so I don't really care. Actually what happened is there's a little scratch in this corner on the underside. So this mirror is really toast, and so I'm not gonna be able to use it again. And there we go. So you want to carefully put your template down. I have these little inner parts I have to be careful about. So I'm going to get my outer parts onto there. There we go. Push them down. Okay, and he is crooked, and it's okay. Now, when I put it down, I do want to make sure that he's very well sealed on the edges for the etching cream. So I'm going to make sure these are pushed down. This is where that squeegee comes in really handy, and I'll use the squeegee in just a moment. So you would take your little squeegee. Here he is. All right. And you could use that to press over this to get those all to stay down. Like that. Because you want all those little edges. You don't want the etching cream to seep under there. Okay. Because wherever the etching cream goes, it's going to fill it in. Now, originally I had a little dot that I had over here, and when I was rinsing this one, I tried to save the dot and it fell out. I don't know where it went. So I'm going to do this one without an eye, and I think that's going to be okay. I might glue a little thing there later on, since this is my tester. So what do I do now is I use this here. I think there's other ones. This is just the one that I use. This is Armor Etch, and it's a glass etching cream. And I use a paintbrush, which I was using for my, here we go. And the thing with using your etching cream is you want to give a nice even amount of etching cream on your piece. And you don't want to get it in other places. So typically I go, I kind of put it on kind of thick like this. And it takes, once you get it on there, it takes about three to 4 minutes before you have to rinse it. So I'm not going to rinse it today till afterwards, because you guys already can see the result over there. But, and what I didn't do over here, which I should, well, actually I did the whole thing earlier. You want to wash your pieces with alcohol, like an alcohol wipe. And I know we probably all have alcohol wipes in our houses now, which we probably didn't have a lot of those before. So I'm just going to fill it in like this with the etching cream, making sure I get it in all the places I want. And you do want a nice thick even layer. So usually I plop it on there really good like that. And then I'll go back and look at some areas and see where I might need to add more etching cream. Once you pull your stencil off, you can't really go back and fix it. So it's better to put a little more etching cream than a little less etching cream. That's my rule of thumb. So I'll put a little bit there. All right, so that I would just do that. I would let it sit for 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, and then I just go to the sink and I rinse it off. And once it's all rinsed, I can peel the template off. And this is I use this template twice already. So you can use your templates over and over if you save them nicely. So this one's looking pretty good. I'm going to leave it and let it dry, and then after class I will wash it off so you can see. So you can etch, you can make any designs really and etch them. The issue I have, and it's just a personal thing, the issue that I have is visually I have a hard time sometimes seeing the positive and the negative of the image. So some of you might be better off than I am with that. I'm going to show you a little tip though in the software. So we're going to go back to the software really quick. And Let me put that over there. And I'm going to show you if you wanted to do a letter. Now, I don't use the stencil feature. You can use the stencil feature with your glass etching. Typically, I want a much thicker piece of etching. So the stencil doesn't always give me what I want. I like it for other things, but not necessarily for working with etching cream. So I'm going to close my cutter window here since I'm done with that. And I'm going to go back, and I think he's here. So here is my, this is the little one I did here. And you all recognize him. He's from Daily Art Hub. What I did is I made him all one color when he came in. And let's see if I can bring him in. He is one of my, I'll bring him in this way as a draw. There we go. So, that's not the one I want. That's my fun paint and stitch one. Here we go. We'll bring him in as SVG. There he is. All right. So what I did is I wanted to move the head and leave a little spot here so you could tell where the head was. And then I wanted these two to be the same color. So I selected this, and then I went to Shift and I selected that. And then down here in my used colors, I just picked the one I wanted like that. And now I have both of those, but they're two separate pieces still. So I'm going to select them again. And then I can either right click and go to shaping, or I can do shaping on the top, and I want to do weld. Now I have to tell you, you know how much trouble I have right clicking. I finally went into my settings on my Mac, and I set the bottom right corner of my trackpad to be my right click. So it's been a little bit easier for me. So now that part of him is all one color. And then I wanted to move the head that way. So when you move it, see how it fills back in because of the overlaps. So I can do one of two things. I'm going to do undo. I can do select all, which is Command A, or Control A, I think, on the others. And I can right click again. I can do shaping and trim. And what that'll do is I should be able to select that and just slide it over. There we go, like that. So I just want a little gap there so you can tell he has a head and that he has the rest of them. And then on the eye, I actually made the eye smaller, but we'll just delete it. So he'll have a big eye. And then you just delete the parts you don't want, like that. So I just went through and deleted the parts I didn't want all the way around. Let's see here. There we go. On this one, though, I had some little extra things right here. All right, and you can remove those by using your outline shape, creating a little line. Whoops. Let's get that back there again. Create your line, maybe. Oh, wait. Yeah, outline shape. And shape. And then I'm going to use what? My knife feature. So I'm going to select that and then do select all, right click, and knife. There we go. I think we got it. Let's see. And I should be able to select, there it is, that little piece. And you can delete that little piece. But it's still connected, so you do undo. So you want to work through, you can remove your little extra pieces. I have a couple extra pieces down here. And actually on this next one I would make these all part of this green part and not, these look kind of weird. They got kind of tiny. So from here back, I would just select these and turn them green, and these I would remove. So you can play around with, how you want to remove your pieces or add your pieces in. And I'm going to get my iPad because I'm kind of far. All right, so one more thing. I mentioned doing a letter. So if you're going to do a letter, let's get a new page. Depending on your letter that you use, let's see here. I don't know what this text looks like, so we're going to do it here. And that one's kind of straight. Let's see if I have any. Let's see what that one looks like up close. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to select this one. Not new. Goodness gracious. There it is. Okay. There we are. All right, so this one, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm also going to change the color because it's white, and you guys probably can't see that very well. So I'm going to make it this red color here. That's fine. There we go. All right, so if I was going to cut this out, and I needed the, well, this isn't a good letter, the other letter. If I needed the inside to stay, all right, I could cut this apart and slide one part away, or using the knife feature. If you have any inside parts, you need to have them stay selected to your outer part so that your, with certain things you're doing, your template doesn't lose this section of it. You want it connected. So let me show you. If I cut this, I'm going to go to the cutter window. Oh, let's do this first. Make sure my technique is on. This is where I'd want to use the cut feature. I'm going to export it, and hopefully you can see. Let me draw a box around this first so you can see this. This is where I have my visual issue. I definitely, there we go. I definitely have an issue with some of these spatial negative, positive kind of things. I don't know why, but I do. I'm going to select that as a cut. I get to select this as a cut. There we go. And I'm going to go to my cutter. And I'm going to connect. All right. So here I have two things. I'm going to do select all, and when it I'm not going to cut it, but when it goes to cut it, it'll pause between them, and you just hit the cut function again. So in this picture, hopefully you can visualize this. If I was going to cut this, what's going to happen is this part is the part I'm going to take away, right? And what's going to be left on my mat is this outer box and this inner part. But if this is a template, how do I pick up, it's like the eye for when I did the eye in my little guy, I needed to attach him somewhere so the eye would stay with it. And that's what I'm talking about. This inner part we need, so you would need to attach it. Typically you could do it with a stencil, the stencil feature, but the stencil feature is going to give you a channel. And I don't want a channel. I want this nice wide part. So this is where my knife would come in handy. So let me close this and show you. I would cut this. And maybe right here. Okay, and then I'm going to do the other one. Because I didn't select them both at the same time. That's okay. There we go. So now I can select this little part here and just make a little channel. I can go into, and I would take away the nodes here, so that's a nice flat piece. So now when I go to send this to the cutter, let me make sure this has cut features. It does. All right, now when I send it to the cutter, you'll see what I mean. All right, so in the cutter window, do you see how that's going to cut? Now it's going to leave this piece open and this piece open, but this part will stay in there, so you won't end up putting etching cream on there. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so one of the questions is, can I do a crystal overlay on embroidery? Yes, you can. I've done that several times. The other one is, right, and Regina's answering the one about washing. Yep. They do stay on really, really well. I've only missed. No, I would drag mine around the country. So some of my crystals, they're in and out of suitcases. They're passed around rooms. People pick at them. So I have replaced a few because of that. But most of the time they stay on very, very well. Cindy's asking about going over a multicolored layered design. So let me show you if we did the, okay. If you did a multicolored, let me go to my hive. So this is a multicolored design. So I would have these dark crystals and this yellow crystal. So if I go to the cutter, let me make sure it should be on. Yep. If I go to the cutter, and hopefully it'll show up on this all right, so see there's two parts right here. So if I'm only clicking on this part here, which is the very top and the doorway. So what I could do is I could cut a template for this one. And after I cut it, what I would do is I would cut my, it's leaving the space for the rest of it in there, so that's not a problem. I would cut my transfer tape really big, and I would put the crystals in this template, pull them out. I would cut this one. It's hard to see that. This is the hive. And I would put the crystals in this template, use that transfer tape with the doorway and the top on it, and pull that out of the out of my piece. So now all my crystals are together. That's how you could do a layered design. And we're going to do vinyl next week, so we'll talk a little bit more, I think, on layered designs. When I do a layered design, it depends on, like, this isn't very many crystals. So I said there I cut one template and I just hand put them in. If I had something that had a lot of different crystals, you have to think about you can use multi-sized crystals too. So with multi-sized, you would want to start with your large ones first. And you cut your transfer tape as big as your whole design. Pull out your big ones first, put your next one or next color in, lay your transfer tape with the large crystals on it on top, pull that off, and you just keep adding them to it that way. So then at the end, they're all on one piece of transfer tape. All right, so I'm going to turn this to camera and see if we have any last questions. There we go. All right, so what do you guys think? Are you going to do some crystals? Am I going to see some crystal designs out there? I love doing crystals. As you can see, I have my two behind me. Back when we first started, I mean, I'll tell you, we would go to events and, we would come to the booth and we'd have, crystals on our shirts, like down the sleeves and wherever. And then you'd be standing there and go, where'd you get that design? And so we'd make them up and we'd make our crystal things. We'd take them to our room at night and put more crystals on our shirts or on different shirts and come down the next morning. So it gets addictive. It really does when you're working with the crystals. They're really fun. It's very much, when you're thinking about layering, you want to think about applique. With applique, there's the layers. We have the placement, the tack down, each layer. So you have to look at what you're working with and what's in the back. What's going to be the first thing you want to put down. And that's what the first thing you're going to want to, that's the first template you want to cut. So you can send all the parts to the cutter and then select, as I did on the screen, how I selected just the color that I wanted. And then it showed up on there. On this one, I showed the bee and you couldn't really see the bee. Sometimes when I get done, I'll change the colors I might design in those light colored crystals just so I can see it. But then when I go to cut it, I may change those colors to a darker color so that I can see it in the cutter window, so I know what's going on. And the thing to remember is don't take your mat out until your piece says send complete. Because if you have a multi-design, I do select all when if I want to do it all in one piece, I'll do select all and it'll cut every color, but it stops between each color and I have to hit the cut window to make it cut. If I wanted to cut separate stencils or separate templates, I would pick the first color. I would align my housing to the spot on my mat where I want that color to go. I would let it cut that color. Then I would pick the next color, move my housing over, make sure I have enough room for that piece, cut that template, and then I would cut the next template. So I'd end up, say it had 3 colors, I would have 3 different templates that I would cut. All right, and that's how that would work. So you don't want to stop. You want to make sure you have, it's just like doing your embroidery. Don't pull it out of the hoop before it says, completed. So that's the thing. Make sure you've got it all done. We've all done that. I've pulled them out and been like, oh, duh, what was I doing? So, all right, I'm going to check here for some questions. And then I think I'm going to let everybody go. We're a little bit over, not too bad. I knew we were going to be over. Okay. Yeah, make sure you talk to your dealers about the kits. They have both the digital, if you want just the digital tools, or if you want the whole kit, it gives you some things to play with that you can work with. And then check with your dealer. Many of them are carrying the heat vinyl, the sticky back vinyl, the crystal template material, crystals, all things like that. So you can check with your dealer on that. If you need more mats, more blades, things like that, make sure you're checking in with your dealers. I'm thinking if there's anything else. Yeah, I guess that's everything. So next week, I'm going to have a new project. As I said, we're going to work with vinyl, both the sticky back and the iron-on, because they're both handled differently. And again, the iron-on, you have to be a little bit, it's a little spatial for me, so, I have that issue. But I do pretty well with it. So we're going to work with those 2 things next week. And going forward for April, I have to figure out what I'm doing for April. I have some surprises there. I'll be back on Tuesday for Skill Builder 11, and we are working with how to bring things into the program, importing into the program, and what we do with it there. So this past week we did the backdrop and using it as a backdrop, and then we also did the auto digitize and also trace as artwork, which is very handy. So make sure you take a peek at that one if you missed it on Tuesday. It is in the guides and you'll be able to find it very easily. The guides, they're at the top of the page there under the banner, and then they're all separated down there. Okay? Oh, and you Cricut Maker people, there's a document for you in the files too. So take a look for that. All right, everybody, I'll let you go. Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine if there's sunshine in your area. And if not, I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.